Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Living Fossil Network. We're going to be talking, no, not me. We're talking about City of Heroes, a game that is dead. It was terminal. 20 years ago this game came out. It's still somehow kicking. I don't know. But anyway, we're looking at the 2020 rewind and we're taking a look at 20 characters, level 50, that I'm playing on City of Heroes, Excelsior Shard, Homecoming servers. This is episode 19, Admiral Nautilus. He's designed to be a storm blasting, marine affinity, Leviathan mastery corruptor. However, I have a problem, and my problem is that he's not done yet. He's not ready. He's not level 50. Got a couple more days worth of farming on this guy to get him up there and unlock his incarnates and everything else. And quite frankly, I don't feel like doing that right now. I've been kind of burning myself out, sort of getting some of my other characters primed for this. So instead, what I wanted to do is take a moment to look at a second series that I'm going to start. And this is going to be the inaugural video for that. And this one we are calling Learn to Play City of Heroes, aka Get Good Noob. And we're going to be talking about building a character using Mids Reborn, because all of these videos, mine and others like Wednesday, if you watch any of her stuff, and several other people on YouTube and Discord and Twitch and whatever else, they're running City of Heroes and talking about building characters and using this build and that build and mids. What's mids and how do you use it? That's what we're going to talk about today, because that's where you should start if you're planning on playing this game. Whether you're a vet coming back from a long hiatus, just found out the game is still alive, you're some new person, you're one of those dreaded Gen Alpha types that's out there looking for something to do. We're going to talk about mids and how to use it to make your character. So, first things first is, what is mids? How do we use it? What's a build, etc. So with the game, you've got characters that you are designing, superheroes or villains or what have you. Pop this open. And mids is the downloadable free, uh, I don't want to say server, but service tool that you can click right here on midsreborn.com is the website, and it will let you download and open up with this installer right here the Mids Reborn tool, which looks like this. So if you've watched any of my videos, you've seen me discuss my builds using Mids Reborn. So the Mids Reborn tool looks like you see here in the background. And right here's a blank one, right? I don't think I've ever shown you guys a blank one. Well, we're going to look at a blank one today because I don't know what this character's going to do. I don't know what this character's going to look like. I haven't decided yet. Like I said, Admiral Nautilus is not done. So we're going to take a look at mids and how do we go from a blank slate to an actual plan, an actual playable character. And how do you use mids? So step one in that process, of course, is going to be, well, you need to download that program from midsreborn.com. So that is what you're going to get once you open this up here. This is safe. I know this is, third-party software, blah, 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 but I've never had any problem. These guys aren't spying on me to my knowledge. Nobody's complained about them on the internet. So the people running this, I think it's Loaded Camel. I'm not exactly sure the people behind it, but they keep the thing up to date. It's a safe program. I haven't had any issues with it on my computer or whatever, hacking, that kind of crap. So anyway, we're going to download your mids. Then the next thing you want to talk about or think about is, well, what is my build? What is my concept? How do I fill in all those little blanks on that mids template there, that tool? So this is where you want to have some sort of idea. And it kind of depends on you, because you want to start thinking about, where or what do I want to play? Now, I have spent lots of time posting tons of build ideas. As an example, on the City of Heroes Homecoming servers or the forums, I've posted a 50-50 showcase last year where I had 50 different builds that I went through. And then recently I've been doing this 2020 rewind where I've been posting a bunch more of these things. And every time I post one of these, I go ahead and upload my mids build. So for instance, here is Nordic Star, who I ran, oh gosh, back in July 1st, just a couple months ago. And she's been downloaded by dedicated fans such as yourselves 80 stinking times. That's insane. So a bunch of people have downloaded her stuff. I post these videos, etc. But there's not just my stuff out there. You can find builds. Like I know Wednesday, she talks about some stuff on her channel. There's other YouTubers out there that are talking about their builds. So search, YouTube. There's Twitch streamers. There's Discord. You got Reddit. I mean, you name it. People who are playing this game are probably posting their build somewhere. So you can go ahead and find somebody's build. So that's kind of the fast, easy way. Now, of course, the problem with that is my builds may not match what you are thinking of. So really, what I want to focus on today is not so much, my builds and whatever I'm doing is, but how do you use that tool in order to create your own build? So how do you take this blank, mids template here and actually come up with your own ideas? So that's what I want to focus on. And so for my guy, Admiral Nautilus here, the big idea that I was coming up with was I wanted something that fit these new power sets that had been released, Stormblast, Marine Affinity. And so I was going for some ideas that, fell in around that. And so for me, my inspiration, had a couple of them. I had an inspiration from the movie The Abyss. If you've never seen the movie, there are these like spoiler. There are these little alien watery creatures down in the depths of the oceans. So that's kind of the idea behind Admiral Nautilus. He's this, not a humanoid creature. He's actually just I don't know what he is. Maybe I like the costume generator because it had this one fish bowl thing with a pearl inside of it. So I'm thinking, all right, he's like a sentient pearl of some kind, and his body is just this jellyfishy kind of inflated exoskeleton that is arms and legs and stuff, but his actual form is just this lump, this crystal, this pearl. And then so that was kind of the basic idea of that. So and then the other part of this was Black Manta, of course, from DC Comics. Kind of that's sort of the visual I was looking for. So he's a villainous type, if you don't know, of course. But those are kind of my two inspirations. So that's where, if you're going to go ahead and create a build using mids, you need to have some sort of concept, some sort of idea going into this whole process. You know, think about what your play style is. Are you going to want to stay ranged, dealing damage or whatever from the back row, or do you want to be melee up in the thick of it? What's your play time? How much time do you have to spend with the game? Because if you don't have a ton of time, you might just want to be playing solo most of your time. Or if you're going to be playing a couple hours, few hours a week, weekend, whatever, then maybe you have time for teams and task forces and that sort of thing. Get more investment time. And then what's your sort of preference when you're playing these types of games? Do you want to be a support role buffing your team? Do you want to be controlling the enemies? Do you want to be debuffing the enemies? Do you want to be damaging the enemies? Do you want to be just this tough as nails person that can just stand there and take a beating and not go down? That's going to determine what sort of character you're going to come up with. Also, what is your preference for play itself? Are you concerned about the story? Do you want to know about, you want to get into the loot and the power and the money, and that's because you could craft to your heart's content in COH. And that's kind of the cool thing that I think that has made this game so immortal at this point. Because we're talking a 20-year-old game. That's why I call it a living fossil here. People are still playing this thing, right? I mean, I'm still playing it 20 years later after I first started playing it. So the game is special because not so much all the customization, which there is, but the idea that you can play all these different play styles all in the same game at the same time with other people playing other play styles, and it works. I don't know how many other games out there can say that you can be into crafting, you can be into PvP, you can be into story and badge collecting, you could be into just min-maxing and power gaming. You can play ranged, melee, and damage or support, whatever else you want to do, all at the same time in the same game. That's really where I think this game is special. So you have to have some sort of concept. Is it like me? I'm looking at some new power sets, and I have this idea of Abyss and Black Manta, and I like to play different roles, but I'm into, debuffing and controlling is kind of my two biggest, first passions, I guess. Damaging is always fun, but really, range kind of stuff, quarterbacking the team, that's always fun for me. So you want to take a look at your own style and then start looking at what power sets are available to you. Now that's going to be the next hard part of this is, hey, what the heck does this game offer me? And you've got multiple places to look for that. And I mean, the one place I'm going to kind of show real quick is if you're on the Mids Reborn site, you can go to the Homecoming servers and start looking at, kind of what other people are talking about there. But here on City of Data, this might be a good tool to go check out because I'm actually going to show you today how I'm going to use this to design this build. But if you go to City of Data, it's the raw crunchy numbers behind the game. So these are all the different archetypes that are in the game, and each one of them, when you click on it, let's say Blaster, it'll tell you what their primary power sets are, what their secondaries, what their pool options are, and then what their epic power sets are. So as a Blaster, you're going to be doing, it says right here, ranged, attack, offensive juggernaut, the typical glass cannon. So you've got a bunch of blasts, you got a bunch of secondary, which is kind of a hybrid of melee and control. Pool powers are open to every archetype out there, and then epic power sets are open to everybody, but the version you get is going to differ based upon your archetype or your archetype. So the dark mastery for blasters is going to be different than the dark mastery for a tanker. But the City of Data is kind of a quick, way that you can go and check out a bunch of different archetypes at the same time. You can also go to the wiki for Homecoming, Paragon Wiki, I think it's called. I forget the exact information behind it. That's got more than enough information, probably too much for somebody that's new to the game. But there's a bunch of info there as well. But anyway, I kind of like coming over here, and I'm going to be playing a Corruptor, right? So I can see immediately, hey, I want to play the Stormblast idea. And when I click on that, it's going to give me the list of powers that are available for that particular power set. And it gives you a quick, executive summary of what they do, what type of attack they are, what type of damage they do, what sort of secondary effects they have. And I can start using this information to start planning my build. This is then going to be mirrored, hopefully, by what you see over in Mids, because Mids is going to have all the same power sets here, although sometimes these are not 100% aligned because the game will release a new set, and Mids is not necessarily going to be updated immediately. So I think with Marine, at least, I think it was pretty much the same exact time the two came out, or within a couple days, I think. So Stormblast, right, and Marine Affinity are the two things I'm choosing. So this list of powers here, and as I mouse over and the little pop-ups are showing up, that's the same information that you're seeing over here when you're taking a look at the City of Data website, Stormblast, boom, gust, hailstones, jet streams, storm cell, etc. Same stuff you're seeing over here. All right, the same pop-up information is what you then see with the information in this third column. So exactly what power set you're choosing, exactly what your character idea is, I don't know. That's up to you. I'm just going to go through my process of how I'm going to do this with Admiral Nautilus, who I'm in the process of leveling him up. I think he's level 41 right now. I've been just grabbing powers, but I don't have a plan in place for him yet. And I wasn't concerned about it because I wasn't playing him. I was just having him sit, door sit while my farmer was working my fire farms and stuff. So anyway, I wasn't worried about it, but now I am worried about it because I want to run this guy for episode 19 of the 2020 Rewind, so I need to get him finished. So let's go ahead and take a look at the process here. All right, so first thing I do whenever I'm trying to come up with a build is I take a survey of what the particular power set can do. And I'm specifically looking for synergies. I'm looking for stuff that's going to work together to improve this guy's chances of survival, dealing damage, helping the team, whatever. Depends on what my character's archetype is. As a corruptor, I've got a dual role. I have a damaging role. My primary set is blasting from range. And then I have a secondary role, which is supporting the team with Marine Affinity. So it's got some buffs. It also got some debuffs in here. So I've got, and maybe even some controls. So I need to get a handle on what all do my powers bring to the table. And then that'll start giving me a concept of what I can do with this particular character and which powers I should choose. Once I know what powers I can choose or should choose, and I know what they can do, I then can start worrying about slotting them and figuring out what set bonuses I should be shooting for, etc. And this is a bit of an advanced discussion, so you have to have a basic idea of the game itself, and that is, and I'll kind of or I'll touch on this real quick, is that as you choose powers, such as let's say I were to take Gust at first level, you'll notice that these little circles pop up and they're currently empty, but these are enhancement slots. And what enhancement slots allow you to do, if I right click on this, is they give me options of things that I can slot into them to make this power better. So Gust itself is sitting here. It's a ranged attack. It does smashing damage and has a minus fly component to it. So if I look at the options for the enhancements, I can enhance accuracy, damage, endurance reduction, range, and recharge. That's fairly standard for all, attacks, ranged attacks in the game. But then next to it, you got this list of IOs, and IOs are then just the generic versions of these SODOs over here. So it's pretty much the same thing. I won't get into too much discussion about the difference between those at this time. That's a whole nother conversation. But suffice to say, I'm going to be focusing on set bonuses and set IOs because this is where you're going to make your money, so to speak, because all of these different sets come with different multiple category enhancements. So for instance, Thunderstrike here, there's 6 pieces you can choose from, and they enhance different parts of the power. They can enhance, accuracy and damage. They can enhance damage and endurance, damage and recharge, etc. So when you start picking from these, you're going to build up a set of them, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them, in order to make your power awesome across all these different categories. Whereas if you're just choosing these individual IOs or SODOs over here, you're only enhancing one thing at a time. So the sets allow you to enhance multiple things simultaneously, and they also come with set bonuses, which is what you're seeing at the bottom of those little pop-outs there, that if I slot 2 or more of these things, I'm going to get extra bonuses, which are then global bonuses added to my character. So for instance, Thunderstrike, if I were to put 2 of them in a power, is going to give me enhanced recovery, gets my endurance back faster. 3 of them gives me extra defense to energy negative plus range defense. 4 of them gives you bonus to accuracy. 5 of them boosts your movement speed, and 6 of them boosts your defenses even more with an additional 2.5%. So the more of these I put in here, the more bonuses I can get. So when I'm trying to figure out my build, I have to sit here and pick and choose combinations of powers that make sense thematically for me and are going to work in this synergy that I was talking about, which is why I need to know what the powers do rather than just willy-nilly picking them, which is what I was doing as I was leveling this guy up. So I'm going to scan through here and see if there's something that this set is designed to do. Because the developers, when they put a set together, they have a theme in mind. They have a concept in their mind. And I'm trying to uncover it here. So even though it's a blasting set, no blasting set really is designed just to do damage, with the exception of fire. Um, all these other sets have something they do. Some sort of debuff, some sort of extra something, something that they're going to add to that power aside from just dealing damage to the enemy. So let's see what we've got here. We've got Gust has a ranged single target. It has a minus fly. Hailstones is a ranged single target. Does some cold damage. It can knock stuff down. Jetstream is the ranged attack, but it has cone, so it's going to affect more than one target in front of you. And then smashing damage, and we have knockdown or repel. So I'm seeing a couple knockdowns. I'm seeing a minus fly. I'm starting to see a theme here. I'm starting to see Storm is going to be keeping things messing with their mobility. Storm Cell is a location range, so this would translate into it's a patch. You're going to drop this thing at range somewhere in front of you or wherever, and it's going to do whatever it's going to do. Some damage, plus it says it has some debuffing here. It's going to reduce a foe's recharge. It's going to slow down their attacking. It's going to slow down their speed. This plus wet thing is not an effect anymore. I think it was something that was possibly going to be in the power set, but it isn't. And then it has some sort of special, which we'll need to look up and see what that's all about. But again, I'm seeing mobility stuff. I'm seeing slowing things down. Intensifies a self buff to you to hit damage. And again, special, I don't know what the special is. Then we got Direct Strike is a sniper attack. So this is a single target attack, energy damage. It has a debuff of minus endurance. And special again, we got to look at what that is. Chain Lightning is a ranged attack, and it's going to chain from what I can tell here. So you're going to have a single target you attack, and then it can jump to nearby enemies. And it's going to do damage over time, energy damage, and some additional minus endurance. So here's another potential synergy angle. We have some minus endurance that we might be able to stack up. Then we got Cloud Burst. It's a ranged attack, damage over time. So it sounds like single target. This wet is no longer a thing. And then special, whatever the special is. If I remember, special has to do with, what is it, Storm Cell? I think Storm Cell, if I remember from reading this somewhere, that enemies in the Storm Cell are more likely to take extra damage or whatever. I think that's what the special is referring to. Special effects based upon Storm Cell. And then Category 5 is your big power at the end. Another patch, another location AoE. More energy damage. So I don't know if it does minus endurance, but it probably does if it's lightning attacks. We have a third way to perhaps have minus endurance. We got this defunct wet thing here. So we have a combination of slowing, knocking things down. So we have mobility debuffing going on, and then we have some potential minus endurance debuffing as a couple of options. All right, so in my head, I'm already thinking, I could use this guy to be like a minus speed, knockdown, knock them on their butt, minus fly, debuffing fool, and keep stuff in a pocket and just start dropping crap on top of them. I could potentially turn this into some sort of endurance draining. I don't want to say monster because in the game, endurance draining as a concept is interesting, but in practice, it's very difficult because the mobs have pretty high recovery, and they can activate their powers with even a smidge of endurance. So it's not like a character where you can't do anything if you've got less than 10 endurance in your bar there. But I do see some potential options here. All right, let's take a look at what's the other one? So Marine Affinity is the other thing I want to do. So for Corruptors, this is a secondary power set. So let's take a look at what this is going to do. Oops. Storm Blast, there it is, Marine Affinity. So we've got Shoal Rush, which is a targeted AoE. So that is essentially a range, and then you hit whatever is within that particular vicinity. So I think that's going to have a like a reticle. So you click on it, it's going to create a little bullseye target at range, and then whatever's in that target is going to take the effect. The effect here is minus defense, minus speed. So we have some more debuffing, and here's some more minus speed. So this would stack nicely with some of these, minus fly, knockdown, minus recharge, minus speed here. These first four powers could team up nicely with Shoal Rush as an example. Then Soothing Wave is a ranged cone. It's a heal, so it's a forward-facing heal. But it also debuffs the enemy's damage. So I have another debuff in a cone in front of me. So again, I'm thinking I've got a lot of debuffing going on with this guy as a possible concept. So not so much, I'm just going to damage stuff. I could debuff the crap out of things. So far, I can take out defense, I can take out movement, I can debuff some damage, I can debuff some of their endurance, I can knock them down. Then we got Toroidal Bubble, PBAOE. So this is I think it's a click, and it's going to be player-based AoE. So you're going to burst out this bubble, and your team within range of it is going to get a plus resistance to damage, I'm guessing, and endurance drain. It adds endurance, it adds recovery, and it adds jump heights, or jump speed perhaps. So this is a team buff, and I assume it's buffing you as well. Sometimes they don't, so you got to double check on this one. So this is not helping you as far as attacking, it's going to help you and your team. So here's an example of a power that if you're playing solo all the time, you might not take this, or you might slot it differently depending on your needs as a solo. If you're playing team all the time, well, then you might want to slot this completely differently, and maybe you don't take some of these debuffs against the enemy type of powers, like the Shoal Rush up here. I do like this heal sounds of it, that it's both a buff and it's a debuff at the same time. That's a very unique concept. Kudos to the new developers for that. White Cap is another one, targeted AoE, so it's like Shoal Rush. And, oh yeah, this is the self-teleport, so this sounds like an interesting power. So there are some powers in the game that allow you to jump, teleport, from one location to another, which is usually kind of dangerous for squishier characters like Corruptors, Defenders, that sort of thing. But what it does is it does some damage. It knocks down. It does minus resistance and some special. So this knockdown sounds like, remember I have knockdown chances here with Hailstones and Jetstream already. So I have a third potential power with knockdown. So again, I'm starting to think synergy. Maybe this character is going to be a knockdown mofo and he's going to be throwing stuff all over the place, slowing them down, knocking them down, debuffing the crap out of their movement, their speed, their recharge, right? I could debuff their damage here. I can debuff their resistance, it sounds like here. I can debuff their defense. This is sounding pretty good as a combination. Tide pool locations. This is another patch. Remember I had a couple patches over here in the storm set, right? I had the category 5 location. I had the storm cell location. So now I have another location. Tide pool I can drop maybe on my enemies as well. Let's see what it does. It adds damage for my team. So this could be good for melee. So I got some melee teammates are fighting. Or I've just white capped into a group. I can drop this or beforehand or right after. It's going to boost damage. And then it has some debuffing. Minus damage, minus speed again, minus jump. There's some more mobility debuffing and minus stealth. So minus damage. And I saw that over here as well. So Soothing Wave does minus damage. Tide Pool is going to do minus damage. So I have more debuffery that I can throw down there. I'm starting to see what this guy can do. I'm starting to see if I can get all this crap dropping on targets and keep them in a confined space with these patches and these team buffs and such. I can neuter them pretty well. I can slow them down from moving. I can slow the recharge from attacking. I can lower the defense. I can lower the resistance. I can debuff their damage output. This is looking like a pretty good combination. Then Brine is a single target attack, it looks like. A foe minus resistance, so another resistance debuff. A max HP debuff, so this is going to be useful for like hard targets like, archvillains or heroes. So this is going to be nice and teaming up with some of the other minus resist that I saw with Whitecap. So again, I'm starting to see some more synergies here. I'm starting to have some ideas for IO sets because there's some IO sets out there that have minus resistance as a proccable effect. Also, there are some incarnates that have the minus damage resistance. So I can start picturing this, and minus damage resistance is going to allow me to do more damage. And if I start thinking that way, I can take some of the pressure off of needing to slot all my powers for just raw damage. I might just turn this guy into a debuffing SOB from hell that's going to just shred enemies, defenses, resistances, mobility, speed, whatever. And I'm boosting my damage and survivability at the same time. All right, then we got shifting tides. This is a toggle. So toggles are, you click them and they're running. So this is my only toggle power that I'm seeing from both sets. So that's good. That means that this is not going to be a high endurance draining concept right now. Whereas, other builds you run in 3, 4, 5 toggles at the same time. You got a slot for endurance and recovery. Right now, I'm seeing, you know what? I don't know if I'm going to have a big problem with endurance aside from what the powers themselves cost. But toggle, what does it do? It's a targeted AoE plus damage to the team plus to hit. So it's a buff to my allies that are in this toggle's AoE. So maybe I guess I could put it on an ally then. Kind of like Sonic Resonance has that power. I forget what it's called. Disruption Field or something like that. Plus recharge as well. So this is a nice buff. Recharge to hit damage. Kind of like kinetics. It's kind of like time. It reminds me of. And then it does special damage. I don't know what exactly that means. But yeah, this is a toggle that is going to give me boosting for the team. The only thing is it's not on me, it's on a target. So this again is a power where you think about your playstyle. If you're not playing with teammates a lot, this might be a useless power for you or not very valuable. Then Barrier Reef, it's a summonable, so it's like a pet. I'm guessing this is kind of like force field generator from traps. So I'm going to summon this thing. It's going to add absorb and defense. So it's a little pet that's going to follow me, I assume. And if it's one of those pets that are targetable, then I can buff it. And if I can buff it, then maybe I can throw the shifting tides on it, or any of my other powers that I have that are going to be buffing allies would be beneficial to this barrier reef. So that's something I need to investigate and think about. Because if I'm going to go into the buff mode, then I know that I have a pet here that could be useful in getting buffed by it. All right, and then the last power in a list is Power of the Depths. It's a PB AoE. So that's going to be a big click, and it's going to add max hit points, max endurance, regeneration, and range. So this is a big old buff to the team, and I assume it's also going to be me as well. All right, so this set is looking pretty interesting, pretty unique, strong combo of buffs and debuffs. All right, so that looks actually pretty interesting. So Stormblast does damage, but it also has a decent chunk of debuffing in it, especially with the movement and the endurance. And then Marine has this roughly 50-50 split between buffing the team and debuffing the enemy. There's not a lot of like pure self buffing in here, but most support sets don't have that sort of thing. But I think this as a combo, I'm getting some ideas here. So I'm starting to think what I could do. I think I want to chase after this idea of the mobility knockdown stuff, and I want to try to get as much just raw debuffing of stuff as I can. The minus damage looks interesting to me. Now, flip side of that, because I like kind of the debuff control style. If I was more of a support buff kind of mindset, then I'm looking more at these team buffs here, Tide Pool and Power Depths, and I want to slot the crap out of these to the heals and that sort of thing. So it depends on your mindset how you want to play this. You could definitely turn this into a pretty good support build, but I would say if I was going to do that, I might come up with a different uh, attack blasting set, because this set screams more debuffing to me than raw support. I don't know. It could go either way. Interesting. All right, I got to think about this. Give me 1 second as I let this percolate in the brain. All right, I've given it some thought, and I don't think there's necessarily a skippable power in either one of these sets, which is good, and it's also bad. It's good because, wow, those are lots of good stuff I can do here. So it means both sets are really strong. Bad news is that's 18 powers that I'm going to be checking off my list immediately, which reduces my options for pool powers and ancillary epic power choices. So it's kind of a double-edged sword here. But with that in mind, if I'm going to take everything, it kind of makes sort of the build a little bit easier, because I can pretty much straight up click all of these powers and take them. And then whatever's left is what I'm going to fill in with the rest of my stuff. Let's kind of go with that mindset. So here's sort of my build philosophy. So when I am getting a character, if I was running this guy from level 0, level 1, and actually playing all 50 levels instead of just sort of power leveling the guy up, I mean, my basic concept is that I always try to start with 3 attacks. And one of those attacks I always want to have, if I can, have it at some sort of AoE. So if I take a look at first level, I have my choice of either Gust or Hailstones. I'm going to ultimately take both of them, so it really doesn't matter. But I would say coming out of the gate, I would probably take the one that has the knockdown over the minus fly, because knockdown's more useful at a lower level than minus fly, because you're not going to see a lot of flying enemies at level 1. You probably don't start seeing flying stuff till maybe your teens or something like that. So, overall Gust is the lower of the two utility wise. So I would take Hailstones first. Then we got Shoal Rush, which is your targeted minus defense, minus speed, and the special thing, and then Soothing Wave. Here again is where your play style, your play time and stuff comes into play, because one of these is like a team heal. So if you're not planning on playing on a team, then this is not as useful as Shoal Rush is going to be. Whereas if you're always playing on a team, well, then you probably want to take this range cone team heal. It's going to heal you anyway, and it has the enemy damage debuff. So I think Soothing Wave is the better of the two options. Just especially at early level, you're going to take some damage. You don't have crap for defenses, so this is a way to heal yourself. Shoal Rush is a nice debuff, but I don't think in the early game you need minus defense, minus speed, that kind of thing on enemies right away. So I think of the two, even if I'm playing just by myself, I want to have some way to heal. So click, I'll take that one. Then from here, I'm going to go ahead and get my second or third attack. So I'm not going to pick anything else in the buff side, unless again I know I'm dedicated playing with teammates, that sort of thing. But if I'm mostly kind of getting started out, I'm going to take, you know, Gust and Jetstream as my next two picks. Which one do I take next? Again, I'd probably take, because this is going to be an endurance issue, is Jetstream has an endurance cost that, let me get my pop-out window here. Jetstream is sitting here with an endurance of 10, where Gust is sitting here with an endurance of 5. So I can get 2 Gusts for every, one Jetstream. Hailstones is 8. Right, so my first 2 attacks I'm spamming for the first 4 or 5 levels of the game are going to cost me 18. I'm not going to be able to spam them very fast. So I think Gust is next, then Jetstream at that point. So I have 1, 2, 3 attacks immediately and a self-heal right out of the gate that I'm ready to go with. Soothing Wave, that's a huge end cost as well, 13. So I'm starting to look at these and I'm starting to say I'm going to need endurance mitigation because just these 4 powers are going to cost me 5. And let's see, 8, that's 13, almost 14. Then I got 24 going on 25. And then Soothing Wave, if I throw out a heal, that's 38, 39. So I'm using a third, 40% of my endurance, just 3 attacks and 1 heal. So that's pretty much an opening right of counter. I see some enemies, single target, cone. Oh no, I took some damage, heal. I've already blown through 40% of my endurance. So I definitely want to start planning ahead that I'm going to need endurance reduction. All right, so now I'm at another choice. Do I take another attack, which is Storm Cell? So this is a location AoE. So with this guy, conjuring a storm in the area that defines the boundaries of stormy powers. Rain from this power will slightly lower a foe's movement and chance to hit. So it's debuffing recharge, debuffing speed, and it also has some minus to hit buff on top of that. So I could take this, because right now I'm at level 4. So we're talking about level 6. What do I take next? So in the first 5 levels of the game, your enemies aren't that hard. So this actually would give you some fairly good clearing speed if I were to take it. The issue being endurance again. Look at this guy. He is 15.6. So if I add that to the 40s, so I'm already 50, 60% of my endurance if I 1, 2, 3, 4 Soothing Wave, right? I'm not going to be able to continue that frickin' attack chain. All right, so that's possible. Or do I take some more buff? This is a nice minus speed, minus defense. Let's see. I don't have any other minus speed going in here. I do have a couple knockdowns at this point. That would team nicely. So Shoal Rush is going to team nicely with Storm Cell. Look, they're both targeted in a location. So here's a patch, and then here's targeting the group that's in the patch. The endurance on this is 10. So I like these two can work together nicely. Toroidal Bubble is a PBOE. So this is, if I click this, I create a ring of bubbles that surrounds my allies, hydrating them, replenish endurance, reducing the effects of endurance drain. The bubble also reduces all incoming damage, providing extra resistance to smashing fire damage. Also increases jump height thanks to added buoyancy. So, the thing is, I want to make sure this is actually going to boost me as well, because if it's only my allies, it's kind of a shit power then. You create a ring, surrounds your allies, hydrating them to replenish. Because I like this power. I like it because I'm talking about, oh man, I have issues with endurance. Well, look what it's going to do. It's going to give me endurance, and it's going to give me recovery, and it costs 8 to cast it. So this could be a nice, quick boost of blue juice at level 6. and it's going to give me some defenses resistance to damage. I just got to make sure that's actually going to help me. So the way I can figure that out is let me go ahead and check the city of data. So give me 1 second while I pop that open. All right, here's city of data. Here is toroidal bubble. Click on that. And let's see. It says over here. So it says it's 10. It's going to add 10 points of endurance to all affected targets. 51.9% resistance to endurance recovery. So I think that's your protection to end drain. Boost your jump height by 7 times. Damage resistance is almost 10%. Boost recovery 20%. 18.75. This is your damage? Okay, yeah. Oh, this is okay. So it gives an extra. This is for smash and fire damage. So it's double for smash and fire. I think this does affect you then, if I'm interpreting this correctly. Like sometimes they'll say like you're immune to it or whatever. So I think enemies affected. Yeah, all right. So here's what it says: enemies affected, allies that are alive, and yourself. Okay, so boom, it works on you. So yeah, I think I want to take that then. So that's how I could use, as an example, using City of Data to assist me in making these choices. So I'm going to click this. So this gives me a boost. The cost is 8, and the recovery I think was 10. So it's pretty much a wash to click this thing. You're going to get a couple endurance back. But the big thing is going to give me some extra recovery, 20% boost at that point, which is going to help me recover some of these attacks that I'm throwing out. So I kind of like this. And it's going to give me some damage resistance, which, you know, at that early level, that's pretty clutch. Yeah, I'd like to start building up for this attack combo here because I'm seeing that location AoE. So I'm going to drop something, Storm Cell, and then the Shoal Rush is I'm going to target stuff that's in that patch. So I like these as the 1-2 combo coming up. Intensify is an option here. Let me get my pop-up window out of the way. So here's my choice at 8, right? I've got Storm Cell and Shoal Rush. I like these two working together. So I think those would be my next couple picks. Intensify is a damage, it's a hit boost. Now this is nice, but this is kind of this is a skippable power if you really think about it. You don't need this power as long as you're slotting pretty well all your attacks and stuff. But it's a nice extra oomph, or if you have a hard target that you're trying to hit. It does provide some specials. Let's see what it says here. Greatly increases the chance to hit, slightly increases damage to and your storm strength. So I'm guessing this special is affecting my storm strength, whatever that means. Let's see if City of Data tells us what that actually means. So if I go ahead and go to Storm, Blast, Intensify. All right, so here's what it's saying. 21% damage boost, 42.5% to hit boost, plus 20% global chance mod. What does that mean exactly? Here's what it says here. Moderately increases the chance for Storm Blast powers to summon high winds and lightning from your Storm Cell in Category 5 while it's active. All right, so Storm Cell in Category 5 are a couple of powers you can take. All right, we're planning on taking this soon. Category 5 is way, end of the line here. But sounds like if I click Intensify and then throw Storm Cell or Category 5, which are both location patch AoEs, that those two powers will have a 20% chance to do this high winds, which I assume has knockdown, and lightning, which I guess is bonus at damage, more endurance drain perhaps from those two. So it sounds cool, but again, this is going to require planning, right? You're going to have all three of those: Storm Cell, Category 5, and Intensify. I don't think you need it right away because you're only at most going to have Storm Cell at this point. So you're only going to get about, half of the usage out of it. Other than that, it's just a standard, aim type of build-up power. Intensify. I like it. At some point, I'll take it, but I don't think I'm going to take it right now. I think I want to take, at this point, I probably want to start thinking about having some more damage, especially a location AoE. Because right now all I have is a cone attack, and cones are fine at range when you got dudes, kind of squared up in front of you. But once, the fighting starts, the stuff is swarming around you. I think that Storm Cell's gonna be useful because I can drop it right on top of myself. So Storm Cell's my next pick. Then I've got Shoal Rush or Whitecap, targeted AoE or location AoE. I think I'm going to go with Shoal Rush because that has the minus speed, which will team up nicely with Storm Cell's minus speed. So I think I can do 1, 2 in a row. I want Whitecap, I think, as well. But the problem with Whitecap is it's going to teleport me right into the mix. And I don't think I have the survivability yet to think about that. Right? It does have some knockdown, but at this point, I'm only level 10. How much defense resistance am I going to have at that stage? So I think I'll wait on Whitecap and grab Shoal Rush at this stage of the game. All right, now before I go any further, one thing you'll notice, I haven't touched a travel power yet. I haven't touched any of my pool powers over here, which is where you're going to find your travels. And there's, big reason for that is I generally don't take a travel power anymore. Like, I don't just go, oh, I'm going to take, you know, super speed or super jump because honestly, those original, in my opinion anyway, like flight, these original pools with the travel powers are wastes. Because the travel power now, fly, I can just go get a jetpack from the start vendor. What about super jump? I can go get, a leaping jump jet or whatever from the start vendor. Teleport. What about teleport? I can go buy teleport powers from the start vendor. I can get Ninja Run or Athletic Run plus Sprint to be, super speed-ish. So unless these travel power pools are actually going to give me something useful, which some of them do, I'm not going to sit there and go, oh yeah, I have to get flight. I've got to grab super jump. This isn't your old game. So if you're coming back to the game after years and you're going, hey, you need a travel power by level 6 or whatever, otherwise you're stuck. There's so much travel options in this game between the start vendor stuff I was just talking about and stuff like the Oro portal, the ferry system, the other portal thing. I mean, you can get anywhere in this game. Your super group bases, you can make all your teleporters, and they're free now. So it's so easy to travel around this game. It's not even funny. So to have dedicated picks for travel powers to me is a waste. So that's why I don't use it. I'm not worried about it right now. Instead, I want to get something that's going to actually help me survive because 90% of my time, if not more, is going to be spent in a mission on a map, not running around the zone. That's old school that it would take you 30 minutes to get across the hollows because all you had was hover and you were getting attacked. Or worse, Perez Park. Remember those old missions, Perez Park? You had to like hover to get over there, and it was some door was in the middle of the forest, and you actually had to land and like jog through the woods, and all the freaking cot are coming out and killing you. You go to the hospital 6 times. The game's not like that anymore. So anyway, I don't think I need a travel power unless it's going to add something to my mix. Now, I am starting to think about it because at some point I do want to start dipping into pool powers because I'm doing a bunch of debuffy buff stuff here. So I want to start thinking about it. One pool set that's coming to mind is one of my favorites, Force of Will, because there is a travel power in here, Mighty Leap, and the other advantage of it is that when you take it, it gives you a secondary power known as Takeoff, which is essentially like a little mini foot stomp. It doesn't do damage, but it has knock up. So if I kind of think about that in combination with my other knock up stuff or knockbacks, right? I had Gust, which is knocking things out of the air. I've got Hailstones, which is knocked down. I've got the Jetstream, which is knocked down or repel. I still want to take this Whitecap, which has a knockdown. So I'm almost thinking, what if I were to go with Force of Will at some point to get this Mighty Leap? That'll then give me yet another knockdown ability, if that's the direction I'm going here, which I'm leaning towards that. Also, it has Project Will, which is a single target, sorry, Weaken Resolve, which is a single target debuff that has minus resistance, minus defense, minus to hit. And remember, I have powers like that going already with minus resistance, minus defense, minus to hit. So this could be a nice stackable debuffing ability if I were to take this, as well as the stackable mobility, knocking things down with Mighty Leap. I don't necessarily need Project Will, which is a single target attack. I already got single target attacks. I don't necessarily need Wall of Force, which is another cone. Although maybe I could take it just to give me yet another, AoE attack, some more knockdown. I do like Unleash Potential though. That could be a nice, tier 9 sort of style pickup, but I don't know if I can get it unless I take Project Will or Wall of Force. So anyway, I'm starting to think about that. If I did want to go into this, I'm dedicating at least 2 powers to it, so that's going to take me up to 20 total at that point. And you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you get 24 powers. So I've already sunk in 20 if I go just to take those two. 21 if I go for Unleash Potential. Possibly 22 if I have to take Wall of Force or something like that to get Unleash Potential. And then I still haven't even talked about what my I want to take Leviathan Mastery for conceptual thematic reasons. So I got to take at least 2 powers there. So if I do dip heavily into Force of Will, I won't be able to get in more than a couple 3 powers out of my Leviathan Mastery. So I'm starting to think this. That's why I'm not worrying about travels and all that crap right now, because I want to get all of these powers first. Once I've got them, I can worry about sliding in something a little bit later as we go. But I am thinking about maybe Mighty Leap just to have that, not so much the travel, but to have that extra knockdown ability. So I could pencil that in at some point here. Let me just see though what I want to get. Intensify, I don't think I need it yet. I have my sniper attack, another single target. I definitely want that. Minus endurance has the special. I think again, all the specials, if I'm not mistaken, are going to tie into the storm doing that extra weird stuff. Let me confirm that. If I go direct strike, see what the special is about. So it says up here that you channel your storm powers into a direct hit, jolting the enemy with a bolt of lightning that deals energy damage, saps endurance. If you're fired outside of combat, it can be interrupted. That's like a sniper attack. Does bonus damage. If you're in the battle, though, it's insta cast. Now here's where the special comes in. While in a storm cell, okay, so while you're in a storm cell, which is a power that I have, that's a location. So if I'm standing in this, so even though it's a ranged location, I have to be in it. It sounds like, or wait, let me correct that. While in the storm cell target. So if my targets are in the storm cell, so I don't need to be in there, my targets have to be in there, then direct strike have a chance to be stunned, it sounds like. The odds of creating high winds and lightning are much greater when direct strike is cast out of combat. Interesting. So storm cells drop first. Direct strike then hits, has a chance to stun. And then it also sounds like it has a chance to do high wind and lightning, which also is tied into intensify. All right, so there's lots of things I need to think about here. Let me give some thought on this. I'll be right back. All right, so now that I think about it, I still don't think I'm ready necessarily for teleporting into enemies. Although I really like this idea, I still want to get some more just damage and stuff going. Um, so you know what? I'm almost thinking this. What if I were to go ahead and take Mighty Leap here? Let me minimize that. If I take Mighty Leap here, this then gives me that potential foot stompy thing. So if I kind of get it set up for that, then when I teleport Whitecap in, knock up, right, knock down, and then foot stomp like a double, bam, bam. That'll give me a chance to go ahead and start dropping crap on top of them, like Storm Cell. That's kind of my thinking on it. So what if I do, let's do that. Let's go with that concept, right? Then we're going to go ahead and grab Whitecap. Then we're going to grab, let's see, I got a choice of either Direct Strike to get some more damage, or I take Tide Pool, which is my location. I like this. You know, and I was thinking this. Let's undo this one, right? Because I think Tide Pool would be nice to have before I Whitecap in. All right, let me Let me think about this. All right, so if I go there, Mighty Leap, Direct Strike, Tide Pool, White Cap, then I've got Chain Lightning to do more damage, Brine ranged, minus resist, minus that. This is again more of a tough fight enemy thing. I don't need that right away. I think I can hold off on this for like higher levels. Chain Lightning. So that's give me some AoE jumping around damage. I kind of like that. Let's throw that in there. Cloud Burst, DOT Cone with a special again. Where do I take Intensify at this point? Kind of doesn't necessarily matter yet. Some more attacks. While I'm in the Storm Cell, blah, blah, blah. While they're in there, some to hit. So it says while in Storm Cell, targets experience recharge to hit and move. So even more effing with their movement stuff. I think I'm going to go with this. Let's keep piling up the minus recharge to minus speed crap. Shifting Tides. All right, this is the toggle that I need somebody to put it on, I think. Let's pull that up on City of Data here. So we're looking for Shifting Tides. Shifting Tides. Here it is. It says here, select either a friend or a foe to create a field of shifting tides. So if I'm playing by myself, this power is not useful at this point. I have nothing to put it on. Other than you could put it on your prestige pet, one of those little guys. But those things have like one hit point. They get trashed if somebody sneezes on it. So I don't think I'm going to take shifting tides yet. I need something I can put it on, and I think barrier reef might be that thing. So until I have that, I don't see this being a useful power just yet. So let's go ahead and hold off on shifting tides until I get that pet thing locked in. So if I have that as my... So anyway, this power does damage to hit, recharge, when attacked foes within their... So anyway, or here's what it does. So foes within the shifting tides provide me and my allies with a rising tide buff that increases to hit damage and recharge. So it's not just an automatic damage, whatever. One attacked foes within the shift. So the foes need to be attacked within the shifting tides, and then they start buffing you and your allies. So you need to be within range of this. So this is a good reason to white cap into a group of enemies. All right, but again, I don't think it's ready for that yet because I need something to put it on in case I'm isolated, I'm playing by myself, whatever. So I think either I go with that Intensify finally, because I'm going to grab Category 5 in a second. I think it's coming up in, yeah, 26. So what if I take Intensify here at 24? 26 I take Cat 5. 28 I can take Barrier Reef. Let's shoot. My other option is that I hold off on Intensify and I can go ahead and grab, Weaken Resolve here. Or I could, if I plan on getting into melee a bit, I could go with the Fighting Pool, take Boxing, and then grab Tough to get the extra Smash Lethal. That's an option. I'll leave it open. I'm not intending on that yet, of being in melee all the time. If I was planning on playing melee with this character a lot, probably what I would have done is I would take Electric Blast, because then I could do something like Short Circuit, gives me a PB AoE option, so that when I white cap in, I then would unleash Short Circuit, Ball Lightning, that kind of crap. Throw some knockdown procs in there and have some fun that way. That could be an interesting combo, but I'm not. So I think I'm going to be at range a bit, 60-40, something like that. So Intensify, or do I take Weaken Resolve for some more debuffery? I don't know if I need Weaken Resolve yet. It's kind of like a Brine Shoal Rush combo. Minus resist here, Shoal Rush. I do like it, but that's almost like a throwaway pick if I need it. So I'll see if I have the room for it. I think I go Intensify. I think I go Cat 5. I think I go Barrier Reef. I think I take Shifting Tides at this point. Now I'm left with my final couple powers. I can't take any of the ancillaries until 35. So I got one more power here. I think Brian's kind of like my last pick because I think Power of the Deep might be more useful. It's PBAOE, team, max hit points, max endurance, regen. Again, I've got to double check and make sure this is going to affect me. So let's see. Power of the Depths. So target self. Yeah, so entities affected are self. So this will buff me as well. So what does it do? You're a conduit of the ocean. You acclimate your allies to the incredible forces of the deep. This boosts hit points, endurance, regen, attack range of all nearby allies. So it's going to give 1,000% max endurance. So 10 times your endurance. That sounds over the top. Not sure that's true. But whatever. It boosts your endurance. Then you get max hit points. Then you get boost of range is pretty sweet. 44%. I like that. Regen is 200%. Yeah, this sounds crazy. 1,000% max endurance. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't know if that's a typo. What does it say over here in mids for Power of the Deep? Endurance says 10% max endurance. That sounds more realistic. So it sounds like you click this, it boosts your endurance 20%. Okay, that's your max end. You're gonna get the hit points. You're gonna get the regen. Okay, so I like this. So I think, yeah, Power of the Deep here. Now I've got either Brine for that extra debuffery. Because now we're getting into that part of the game where you're going to be facing a lot harder, more challenging, tough enemies. So you've got something like Brine with the minus resistance and minus max HP. That's a good, like, AV debuffer. I also have the option to go ahead and grab that Weaken Resolve. Similar kind of ideas. Hard targets, you hit it with that. Or I start dipping into my ancillary. And I do want to get Leviathan Mastery, again, for thematic purposes. But I was looking at this a little bit earlier. There is something on here that I definitely won't want to get that'll actually make sense with this overall build. Let's go ahead and move mids up so you can see it. Up, up, up. Okay, here we go. So check it out. School of Sharks. It's a cone immobilize. And this is where I see a benefit to this build because I have all these patches and these things where I'm dropping crap on people and trying to keep them clustered with these storms and the category 5 and all this crap that's happening. It'd be nice if I can immobilize targets so they can't run away. Right, I'll have some slows going, but this will definitely keep them in position. And it's a cone for range. And I think it's the only Corruptor set that has an AoE immobilize. There are a couple that have immobilizes, but I think they're all single targets. So I think School of Sharks makes sense here. Or Shark Skin if I'm trying to start to build up my defenses. So let's say I go Shark Skin. I don't need Hibernate, I don't think. That's like your oh shit power. School of Sharks makes sense. A single target hold. Do I need a single target hold in this build? Maybe. It would be a nice addition. I don't know if I need it. I think I'll throw Brine in here at this point just to make sure. Do I need another summonable pet? Maybe. Because that gives me another target to throw Shifting Tides onto. So I could take the summon Coralax. It deals psi damage. It lasts for 4 minutes, so it gives me some extra buff. All right, so here's where I'm at. I got 3 powers left. I got some choices. I got a single target hold. I got another pet. I've got everything in my primary and secondary at this point, which is what I was shooting for. And I've got Weaken Resolve. I pretty much could take these 3. I could take Weaken Resolve, the Jaws, and the pet and call it a day. All right, I can do that. Now, which one I want to take first is going to be important. Well, the last one's the most important because the last one at 49, thing you got to remember is you have one more level up that's level 50, and you're only going to get 3 slots at level 50. So whatever power you take at 49, at most you can add 3 more slots to it to take it up to a 4-slotted power. So which of these, a pet, a hold, or a debuff, do I want to have the lowest slotting potential? I'm thinking for the Corlax, I can get a force slotted expedient reinforcement type of recharge intense pet sets. With four of them gives you some nice bonuses. So I think that'll probably be my last pick. And then it's a matter of hold, debuff. This debuff we can resolve. I can see proccing it. Maybe with some damage procs, something like that. So I can probably get away with 4 slots or something like that. So really don't think I need more than 4 in any of these anyway, but let's just kind of go down the line and I can tweak these around as I need. The Spirit Shark Jaws is going to do damage. And it has it has minus fly on it as well. So that's another, thing I can stack. So if I look at Spirit Shark Jaws, it has a minus flight, hold, damage over time, lethal. See if it does anything else. Effects. Okay. All right, so I think I want to have my hold before a single target debuff. So I would take Shark Jaws, Weaken Resolve, Corlax. Bang. That, mein Freunds, I think is this character's core build. I think that's going to be it. So let's take a look at what I've got here. Let's close this again. So I've taken everything in Stormblast. I've taken everything in Marine Affinity. I've got the idea that I'm going to be stacking movement debuffing, plus some knockdowns, and then I got a bunch of other minus defense, minus resistance, minus to hit debuffing here, there, everywhere. With this build, I have 2 pets that I can use in order to throw my Shifting Tides buff onto with Barrier Reef and the Corlax. And when I take lore pets, I'll have a couple more options there. So if I'm kind of going pet, I don't want to say pet heavy, but pet enriched, that's going to give me another idea because when I look at the support, when I look at the hybrid powers for incarnates, some of them do extra for pets. So I might go towards the core side of things. I'm kind of just thinking ahead. But here you go. I think this is my raw build right now. Right? I'm gonna end it here. Let's wrap this video up here because it's been just over an hour as it is. We'll call this part 1. So this is my process, right? I'm looking at these power sets, trying to figure out what they do, trying to figure out how they might synergize together, and it's starting to come up with a plan. The rest of this build is going to be, well, what sets do I put in here? What am I trying to maximize? What am I trying to minimize? What am I going to try to enhance? So I need to go through all of that process, and that process is going to take a while because I have to go through all the sets and start looking at what their bonuses are and how much of this do I want to lean into the debuff side. Do I want to try to get into more control because I have a couple controls, some immobilize. I got, hold now. Do I want to kind of lean towards controlling? Do I want to try to max out that slowing minus recharge idea? So I've got some things I need to think about, and that's going to probably take me another hour to go through that whole process before I have what I would call my final build. And I'm not sure an hour is enough because I also then look at incarnates and see where I can boost things or minimize some liabilities on top of everything else. Well, there you go. That is my process that I go through when I'm trying to figure out a brand new character like Admiral Nautilus here. I'm going to try to make this guy so that I can play him at level 50 at a high efficiency, a high lethality, whatever the case may be. So there you go. That's what I'm talking about. We'll do part 2 after this, get into the specific set bonuses I want to put in here so that you too can be good and get good and not be a noob when you're building a new character. All right, I'm going to check you all in the next video. Take it easy. See ya.